alert level last Friday for Triple E and West Nile virus. So there will be certain spraying occurring this Thursday evening on town fields and school properties. A notification went out today via our news flash and social media. We are not yet at the high level that some other communities such as Littleton and Acton are at. They're taking additional precautions related to staying indoors after sunset. But just want to remind people to take those precautions and to be aware that that spraying will occur on this Thursday at 7:30, I believe is beginning.
Seeing the moderator made me think of the Westford Historic House Tour, which is coming up on September 28th. Is that right? And if people are interested in learning more about that and signing up, how would they do that, Madam Moderator?
So ticket purchase and sign up is on the museum website. It's museum.westford.org, and there's a very clear button to click on to get to the Historic House Tour. So.
Great, and any proceeds are going to support the museum, so it stays here in the community and.
Yes, and really thank you to our sponsors, Enterprise Bank and Barrett Sotheby's, who were very helpful in their donations.
That's good. Thank you to them. Okay, any other, how about members of the public? Any open forum items for members of the public tonight? Members of the public tonight? Okay, we're going to move on to our 705 item, the consent agenda request. I will accept a motion to approve the following: street road closure. The event is the Byrne Avenue Block Party. The applicant is Maureen Wilczynski. The date is September 15th, rain date October 6th. Time is 1:30 to 6:30. Location is 18 to 30 Byrne Way. Also the Town Common and Bandstand and flag raising. The event is Indigenous Peoples Day holiday celebration. The applicant is Wendy Lloyd of our DEI committee. And the date is October 14th, 2024. The time is 10 to 11 a.m. In a banner request, the event is the Westford Academy Holiday Bazaar. The applicant is Audrey Smugula, and the dates are November 29th through December 9th of 2024, and the location is the J.V. Fletcher Library.
Move to approve.
I have a question on one.
All right, please.
On the Town Common, the Indigenous Peoples Day holiday celebration, in your application you said that you had attached a copy of the flag. Is there a different flag going up along with the American flag, or what's the ceremony look like?
We were considering the NEPA flag, but in further discussion.
Could you please, I'm sorry, Wendy, if you could please come up to the microphone.
I'm sorry.
Just the benefit to people at home who won't be able to hear otherwise.
Wendy Lloyd, 16 Pleasant Street. We had been under the impression that the Nipmuc flag was the correct one for our area, but it is possible, as we're doing more research and uncovering things, I believe we're going to skip the flag this year until we get more correct information about the different tribes. Since there were so many tribes displaced in this area over the history, it becomes very confusing. So we want to make sure we get that right.
Okay, good, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Wendy. Any other questions? I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, and since Scott is not with us, we can do a hand raise vote. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Very good. We are at our 7:10 item, but we're a little bit early. Is there something, Kristen, we should jump ahead to?
You could say if there's any board reports or updates, if you wish.
Any board reports or updates, folks, tonight? Okay.
Happy to do
You want to do
12A as well if you.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
So as we've been discussing, the town of Westford is designing and now will be going to construction for 2 PFAS treatment plants. We were awarded an SRF loan, and this is just to authorize myself to sign that loan and enter into that agreement.
I have a comment.
Sure.
So accompanying in our packets was a resolution, I mean, that basically authorized you. I don't know who drafted it, but it says Board of Selectmen in it, and
Sure.
we are the Select Board.
Okay. Do we need to make that motion?
If we do, I will.
Okay.
John has a question first.
Yep, John.
What kind of loan is that? Is that going to go against a Is that gonna be excluded, or,
It's a low-interest loan, and it will be carried within the water enterprise.
so it's just gonna be, it's not gonna be an excluded debt? It's
No.
gonna be, and it's minor interest?
Right, low-interest loan, correct. I don't have the, let me just pull the packet up, so.
They couldn't give us a zero interest loan?
It's this Commonwealth.
wish.
It's
The
this-
Commonwealth, I mean,
Hey,
they're
be
on our
hap-
side? Oh,
Be
yeah.
happy you got low interest, okay?
Yeah, define low. No, that was my
I think
I was
it's
curious
about
about
a
that.
2%, is generally what it has been.
Yeah, I'd like to see the loan document that they produce. Is it gonna be that general document like we had with some of the other, you know, yeah, we're dealing with the state, right?
It's a state loan, yes.
It's not that general document.
No, it's not the general contract, it's a state loan. So-
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Anyway, I'll move to approve, to authorize Kristen with the change from the Board of Selectmen to the Select Board.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor? Okay, very good. That brings us to about 7:10. So I will entertain a motion to open the public hearing for National Grid Job 309-84057.
So,
Second.
All in favor?
And I'll move to waive reading of the public notice.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, very good. Thank you. Are you here on behalf of National Grid?
Yes, I'm here on
Okay.
behalf of National Grid to install a JO pole on Nutting Road for reliability needs, and I think there should be an engineer on the phone.
Yes, I have promoted,
Can you let us know who you are?
Oh, I'm Alec Birdsong. I'm here. On behalf of National Grid.
Rohale,
Hey, Josh. Good
Josh,
evening,
thank
everyone.
you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Hi, welcome. If you could just start off by
Thank you.
giving us an overview of the project, that'd be great.
Yes, so actually I'm a contractor working with National Grid on this project. It's a DA118 Flizzard scheme job project that requires an additional mid-span pole just to install a reclosure on it. I surveyed all this road, and basically that is the most viable location of installing a mid-span pole, considering if you were to install a reclosure, it has to be a straight line, no angles on it, and between pole 40 and 41 on Nutting Road, it gives us the quite perfect angle to install that pole. Sorry?
Okay, thanks. And I think we saw in our packet that our Department of Public Works did not have any comments on this. And do we have any feedback from abutters on this?
No one online has raised their hand as of yet.
Okay. Any questions for National Grid? Okay. Let's see, is this a two-parter, also for permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires? I guess that's sort of part of, all part of one ask. Okay, if there are no other questions, I will entertain a motion to approve National Grid job number 309-84057.
So moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great, thank you very much. And now we,
Move to close the public hearing.
yes,
second?
all in favor? Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate your help tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. We have a little bit of time. If you're here watching, remember the public hearings have to happen either at the time posted or they can happen later. You can't do it early, though. So now we're back to looking for a few other items that we might address in between now and 7:20. Should we go ahead and go down the purchase orders?
Sure, if you're
Yep.
happy to do that, yep. So purchase orders, we have TriTech Software Central Square for computer-aided dispatch software in the amount of $11,060.73 by the Technology Department. Dennis K. Burke for delivery of fuel under the state contract in the amount of $19,703 for the Public Works Department. Pro AV Systems for repair and replacement of a defective display monitors in the amount of $16,361.68 as requested by the Public Safety Communications Department. Beta Group for the Sidewalk Assessment Program Services in the amount of $48,500 as requested by the Department of Public Works, and Polaris Government Sales for the Ranger SP 570 North Star UTV in the amount of $18,895.83 as requested by Emergency Management. And as you'll recall, you did approve a portion of that funding under ARPA at your last meeting, and a portion will be grant funded. If there's no questions, I'll go down to contracts.
Yep.
Some questions.
Chris, yep.
So remind me on the beta request for the sidewalks. Did this go through town meeting?
No, it's coming out of Chapter 90 money that does not require town meeting.
So who's making the decision other than us? Did it go through any other committees or anything like that before it came to us for this?
So I know myself and the DPW director discussed doing this, similar to how we have our pavement management program. I have Kyle on the line if you'd like to ask him any questions.
No, I'm very familiar with this request, and I've said for many years that I'm not in favor of spending this money for this, so I'm just surprised that it's coming before us. So
Why aren't you in favor?
I don't think that we need to spend $50,000 to get an assessment of their current sidewalks. It's specifically, if we're using that assessment to determine where we want to spend funds to either put in sidewalks or to repair existing sidewalks. The Pedestrian Safety Committee has a list of sidewalks that are in need of repair and have been prioritized by the committee, that we certainly could put that $50,000 towards rather than spending it for a consultant to go around and drive around town and tell us what our sidewalk state of affairs are in. So I've always, they've knocked the number down. It used to be over $100,000 for this, and I kept saying no, and now we're down to 50. I still think that's a very large amount of money, and I don't think it's worth the benefit that, they're saying they're going to get out of it. So, it's my
If Kyle's on the line, Kyle, would you like to?
Yeah.
Kyle, if you're out there, if you'd like to speak to this, what's the level of urgency behind doing this and the rationale?
He's just joining now as the panelist level. And as he's getting settled, I can just state what my comments are related to this, if the board wouldn't mind. We have a pavement management system that ranks and reviews our roadways in terms of when they were built, constructed, when they were reconstructed, if at all, and what those rankings are to help us prioritize it. My feeling is that we should have a similar type of plan for sidewalks as well, and repair those sidewalks in that order of the prioritization, as well as look at what the new sidewalks may or may not be. So I am a strong proponent of having a very similar plan to our roadway pavement management plan to our sidewalks. Kyle, we still, here it is. Okay, gotcha.
Hey guys, hear me now?
Yes.
Yep. Hi, Kyle.
Good evening, select board members. We put this request forward. We feel this is a much needed request to help us in a number of areas with our existing sidewalk system. First and foremost, it'll give us an inventory of where our sidewalks and what they are in terms of whether they meet ADA requirements, whether they don't, what condition they're in. It'll give us the ability to plan for improvements on our sidewalks, similar to what we have for our pavement management system, for our paved roads. One of the more frequent calls we get is from residents who are dissatisfied with the failing condition of their sidewalks, and we really haven't been able to put a good capital plan together for addressing any of those issues, because we've always felt we needed a comprehensive plan before we can start picking and choosing where to spend the town's resources.
And so, Kyle, the output of this, if there was a very high priority set of sidewalks that needed attention, that would enter the regular capital process and be put forward with many, many other projects to get prioritized. Is that where the findings would go?
That's my intention, yes.
Okay.
And Kyle, is there any?
As part of it, we can leverage the some of the remaining sidewalk money in the mitigation agreement to do some of that as we plan forward.
Kyle, is there any mapping associated with this work as well, or geodatabase that you would use to our advantage?
Yes, definitely. For those of you familiar with the database that we have for the pavement management system, it's going to utilize the same system actually, and it'll be the sidewalks will be rated for condition by color, similar to the pavements, where the green pavements are the best, the red pavements are the worst, and orange and yellow are kind of in the middle. So yeah, there'll definitely be a graphical component to this list, and it'll give us basically instead of a pavement condition index, it'll give us a sidewalk condition index, and it will also help us in our efforts to meet the ADA transition plan that all towns are required to work towards.
Okay, breaking up a little bit, but I think we got that. This will help us be compliant with the ADA requirements. Chris?
Yeah, 2 points. One, or a question, I guess. So Kyle, is it your intent to devote some of the Chapter 90 money we have today towards sidewalk rehabilitation?
I'm not prepared to answer that at this point. It's certainly possible. We'll have to weigh the goals of the select board and the residents of Westford. But certainly, as I mentioned, we do get a number of phone calls each year because people have some pretty lousy sidewalks in front of their houses, and some that just frankly don't meet ADA requirements. They're either too narrow, they're too steep, they don't have curb ramps. All of those sort of defects exist on our many miles of sidewalks.
Yeah, and those have existed for many, many, many years. I mean, the problem here is that the Pedestrian Safety Committee has been looking at this issue for a very long time. They have prioritized the building of sidewalks over the rehabilitation of existing sidewalks because we have such a deficit of sidewalks to our critical areas like schools, the town buildings, parks, of those nature. And if we needed to, if we suddenly had extra funds, so you mentioned using sidewalk gift account funding, that right now, or in the asphalt mitigation resources, that all those are being used to build new sidewalks. So there's nothing left over right now for rehabilitating existing sidewalks. So I think what you're saying here is we're going to spend $50,000, and then we don't have any funding really to go back and repair these sidewalks. Secondarily, the Pedestrian Safety Committee, as I pointed out earlier, knows very well what are the priority sidewalks that we need to rehabilitate. We really, if we had gone through all those, we fixed Main Street, we fixed Patton, we fixed East Prescott, all the schools, all the sidewalks to the existing schools and made them compliant, and we were searching to try and figure out among the next 60 miles of sidewalks what we wanted to do, I'd say, yeah, go ahead and do this. But we're so not there. We don't have the money. We are fighting tooth and nail to find the funds to build the sidewalks that we're building today. I just think this is going to be a $50,000 appropriation that's going to sit on the shelf, and we're not going to be able to do anything with it for at least a decade, at which case it's going to be probably not worth the paper that it's written on. So that's what I would come down with this on.
What's the time urgency of doing this if...
We've been asking for it for years.
I mean,
No, I think
I'm wondering if so a couple things we could do here. We could ask that Kyle present this idea to the Pedestrian Safety Committee and get their input. If that hasn't happened yet, but I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to do that if there was some emergency timing issue that I wasn't aware of. So is there?
Did you say it has been presented?
It has. It comes up every year in the last 4 years during our discussions for capital planning with pedestrian safety. And the capital planning process, pedestrian safety goes through the list of priority projects that we have, and we review this particular ask as well, and we prioritize that, and it's typically in the Pedestrian Safety Committee's eyes on the lower end of the prioritization scale. when we submit those to capital for capital planning. So this has been something, as I mentioned, it's come up many, many years. It's gradually, they've pared it down now to this $50,000. It was over $100,000 when originally requested. And the committee has never seen fit to move forward with recommending it for funding. So
I think John has a question, and then we'll entertain the pleasure of the board of what we want to do with
I had
this.
a comment, because you get, the pedestrian safety committee does get their input into the capital plan. Have you seen the pedestrian safety committee's plan, Kyle?
Yes, I've been working with board member Chris Barron and pedestrian safety committee member Tom Hinkle to develop the plan that we're going to input for this year's program.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Just have one more comment.
Sure.
One comment that I think bears on the timing and the urgency of this is on the federal level, very recently, the federal government has approved PROAG as an actual enforceable standard. It's in the final stages of essentially being the law, much like ADA building code is now the law. That hasn't been the case for the last, well, since 2011, since it was in a comment phase. But what we will see as soon as the DOJ signs off on that is the same types of enforceability around sidewalks and pedestrian features in the right-of-way that we previously had with buildings. So this, what Kyle's proposing, is actually an important part of the ADA transition plan as an appendix, because we are going to be tasked with, to comply with the ADA now, with dealing with remediation work on sidewalks that aren't compliant.
Well, at a time when budgets are tight, I wonder if, I guess, so if one of Chris's points is, if we develop a plan with no resource behind it to do anything, do we wish we were doing something else with that money? Is that the case? Do you think, just your judgment from the capital process, do you think that something like a sidewalk rehabilitation would get prioritized were we to have this plan to help us direct the priority?
My professional opinion is that yes, I do. My opinion differs from Chris's in terms of I feel like we should maintain our existing infrastructure before building new infrastructure, which we can debate that all day long. I don't want to get into that, and I think that this would be very helpful in terms of perhaps doing a little bit for our existing infrastructure and also building new at the same time, and coming to capital with those data points from this plan to present that in the future.
how about this? Can I offer a suggestion?
Sure.
How about we bring this to pedestrian safety to specifically look at it as a recommendation for the select board, with the eye on the committee making a recommendation, should we be prioritizing new versus existing? And then they can come back and make a recommendation to this board, and then as a result of that recommendation, the board can decide whether or not to move forward with this.
That's the pleasure of the board, absolutely.
Yeah, are you-
Let them make that
I think that's an excellent
Are we in consensus?
suggestion.
Okay. So we can entertain a motion, unless there are other questions, we could entertain a motion to approve purchase orders 1, 2, 3, not 4, and 5. Are there any other questions related to these items?
Can I ask just a quick question?
Sure, please, Wendy.
Wendy Gloyd, 16 Pleasant Street. Just wondering, my understanding of general municipal problems in the roads and walkways, if it becomes reported to the town, doesn't it become a liability? Like if I fell and hurt myself on an item that had been reported 3 years ago, doesn't it start becoming a liability issue and people looking back into why didn't you get that fixed? You've known about it for several years. That's just an example of a concern.
If you'd like to comment on that?
So generally, yes, if there's an issue with, let's say, a catch basin or a water gate or a sidewalk that has been reported to us and we don't take action and then there is injury, we generally are liable for that insurance claim in the future.
Yeah, true, not just for sidewalks, but for any town asset? Yeah, okay,
I
thanks,
just want to
Mike.
acknowledge, there's 3 comments online. Do you want me to read them?
Sure.
Or- Okay. James Kokis says, I am for additional sidewalks eventually when the time is right. Couldn't the committee make any needed recommendations for any additional sidewalks? Public Works can assess what we have. It seems like an overly and needless complicated solution for this. Heather Fitzpatrick asks, how much and how often would this plan be updated? I believe Capital did not support this. And James Kokis says, can Public Works repair our existing sidewalks? Are we looking into recent state grants for this? I don't know if you want to address any of those comments under this. We're still reviewing
Some of those
it,
sounded
obviously.
more, some of those sounded more like comments. If anything in there looks like a question,
Kyle, can you answer the question of how often do you see that the sidewalk plan would be updated if we move forward, similar to the pavement management plan?
Yeah, sure. I would guess we would not update it as often as the pavement management plan, which is typically every 3 years or so. I would guess probably every 5 to 10 years would be more than adequate for a sidewalk plan.
since this item seems like it's going to come back to us, why don't we go ahead and close out the purchase order items here. At the time that this does come back, after discussion with the Pedestrian Safety Committee, we'll make sure we post that and invite comments for this then. So do I have a motion for?
I'll move to approve purchase orders 1, 2, 3, and 5.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We are now hopping back to the public hearing stated for 7:20. So I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's welcome Joe Jinowitz, our town planner, to talk to us about street acceptance.
So Joe is not here this evening. I can
Okay.
handle this for him. You'll have to open the public hearing first?
I did.
Oh, sorry, I apologize. Thank you. We have been requested by the developer of Cloverleaf Lane to accept that as a public roadway at town meeting. According to DPW and the Land Use Department, as well as Town Council, all matters are in order to remand this to the Planning Board for their review.
And just for the public, Kristen, why do we have to accept a street? What's actually happening here?
Sure, so we accept an easement over the street to allow us to maintain the roadway in terms of plowing, in terms of any future maintenance of that roadway that is required. And that is a traditional avenue after a subdivision roadway is completed and the development has occurred on that roadway.
Right, so basically every development in town has gone through this process at some point. after-
If they want to be a
If
public
they want to be a
roadway.
public way.
Exactly. Not all do.
Correct.
Okay. Questions for the Cloverleaf Lane street acceptance?
I was just questioning the process. You know, the document they included from the town council in our package talked about doing a layout first and then referring it to the planning board and then a reply and in that time frame. Is that what we're doing?
That is correct.
So what we're going to do is approve
The intent to
layout.
lay out the way.
The layout.
Yes.
And then we're going to refer it to planning board, and then they'll get it right back to us. So it's within the time frame to meet town meeting.
Yes, they'll be reviewing it Monday
Okay.
evening.
And the
Okay,
public
well,
will-
I just, we said we were going to accept it and all that. I didn't think acceptance comes till after that, right?
Acceptance comes at
That's-
town meeting.
Yeah.
Town meeting has to
meeting.
vote to.
Okay,
Town meeting
so-
votes to do that.
So we're just doing the layout, okay.
We're doing the next
Okay, then I
procedural
read it
step.
correctly for once, okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? What is the motion we need here? Do we just want to
We refer it to the motion to refer to the plan,
motion to report to the planning board? Okay.
which I
You
just
you
made.
just made the motion? Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Very good. And I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Okay. We are at 7:30. Okay, thanks. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
Have a nice night. Short and sweet, good? I hope so. Okay. We have a 7:30 item, which is the street acceptance and layout of Diane Lane. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And this one is a little bit different.
Right, so this is a request to lay out Diane Lane, which is another subdivision roadway. The Department of Public Works and the Land Use Department do have a concern related to the construction of the roadway related to a pipe. Kyle Fox, our Department of Public Works Director, is on the line, as well as the engineer for Diane Lane, Matt Waterman. So I would respectfully request that you allow the Diane Lane representatives to state their case, and then we would respond to how we see this moving forward, and then move on from there.
Okay, let's hear from the Diane Lane folks.
So, is that Matt?
Yes.
Okay.
So Matt, you're on mute, if you wouldn't mind unmuting.
Sorry, I'm a little slow tonight. I'm down with COVID, so I apologize if I start coughing or anything. But thank you for taking the time to allow me to come in remotely. Greatly appreciated. We're here tonight, and I know Kyle's on the line, or at least he was just talking, but for the street acceptance for Diane Lane, all the items have been completed. There is one single construction item that needs to be corrected. It's a misaligned reinforced concrete pipe, one of the drain pipes connecting a manhole to manhole. And we're working with the DPW and the engineering department to resolve this. We're here tonight to request that the board just extend their decision on moving this to the town meeting warrant until their next meeting on, September 24th. Just a little bit more time for us to work out a resolution with DPW. We're sensitive to the town meeting timeframes, obviously, that you're up against, and we would withdraw the article if we don't have a resolution. The goal is to deliver a street that's in accordance with the town standards and close out the associated bond that's being carried. So be happy to answer any questions, and just hoping that we might just buy a little bit of time, and I know we're up against the wall.
Okay, so Matt, you're asking basically to for a couple more weeks and have this come back to us after you've had a chance to work on this issue and get everyone all lined up in agreement. Is that
Correct.
That's your request? Okay. Do you want us to hear, Kristen, from anybody else, or do you find
I
that
think
acceptable?
it's the pleasure of the board if they want to hear from DPW. I think what Matt stated is correct, that the engineering department is concerned about this pipe. They're looking for a solution from the engineer. If that solution can come into play and the construction can occur before town meeting, I think we'd be comfortable moving forward. But right now, we're not comfortable accepting the roadway as is.
Okay. Any comments from the board? I'm inclined to accept the
Yeah.
propose that we accept the request.
Yeah, I would give them 2 more weeks to see if they can work it out.
Back.
Okay. So it sounds like we're in consensus, so we'll plan to welcome this issue back. And do we leave the hearing open?
We do,
Yes.
yes.
And we have to.
But you have to
To continue
continue
to
it to a
decide.
date and time certain.
Okay.
So I'll entertain a motion to continue this to our meeting to be held on September 24th and
7:10 p.m.
at 7:10 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you so much.
Great.
We'll look forward to seeing you in
Thank
2
you very
weeks.
much.
Feel better.
Yeah, feel better. Yeah, sorry you're sick. It's no fun being sick. Our 740 item is a request to approve Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 12, Common Victualler License for Mario's, 223 Groton Road. And I guess, Patty, is everything in order for that request?
Well, hold on one second, please.
No problem.
Didn't take a look
We
at it.
actually
I'm
have
sure
the
it is.
Okay. Yeah, would you like to come on up? Please come on up and introduce yourselves.
They've been here before.
Please.
Josh Johnson.
And Jennifer White,
Okay.
and we're looking to take over Mario's in Westford. We've both worked there for many years. I actually owned a diner years ago. I sold it about 17 years ago now, so I've had a little dabble in it before. And
I've been working for 11 years for Mario, and I've been managing it for the last year and a half, and we decided that we were ready to take the next step and take over as JJ's place.
Great, well, that's exciting.
yeah.
Any questions from the board for this team? And everything looks like it's in
Common
order?
victualer's license is just saying you're getting permission to have people sit down at tables and chairs and serve them. So,
Yeah.
yes, it's all in order.
All in order.
I will move to approve.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, and congratulations.
so much. Come have breakfast.
Yeah, that's right.
Is it on you?
I'll be there soon. We will happily support a young business by paying full price for breakfast. Okay, next up for us is the 745 item, which is the request to approve the vision and mission statements of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, welcoming Joe Diamond and Joanne. Thank you for your work on the committee. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you very much. It's our pleasure to be here. And thank you for this opportunity to to talk with you about our request for endorsement of a vision and mission statement, which Joanne will get into more in a moment. It's good to be with you again. I'm Joe Diamond, I'm the co-chair along with Anjali Rajput of the DEI committee. We value the support of and the partnership of this board and the connection that we've had with you through Andrea Perriner-Sweet, Anita Arnwin, as well as liaisons to the DEI committee. We're here to update you on our activities and to ask for your endorsement of vision and mission statements, which, as I say, Joanne will get into in a second. Over the past 4 years, we've been guided by the charge that you provided to us and inspired by it as well. And we developed two main strategic directions. Raising awareness about and embracing diversity in Westford, building on its well-known character as a welcoming community, and to integrate a DEI across town government, boards, and commissions. To carry out those directions, or to pursue those directions, we've engaged in a variety of activities, which you remember over the past 4 years, I'm sure. A series of podcasts featuring our members and activities and issues related to DEI. We continue to put together and have published on the web a multicultural calendar. We are working with the town and with Kristen on different opportunities in terms of hiring. We have also reached out to other town committees across town, again, in the spirit of a DEI lens. We've sponsored and participated in an international block party. We've participated with the town of Acton on a Pride celebration. Recently, a Juneteenth recognition here in Westford. An India Independence Day as well celebration here in Westford. We are planning for October 14th, as we heard earlier, an Indigenous Peoples Day celebration. We've worked with the school committee in a variety of levels and administrators. One example is working with the school committee in terms of enhancing its curriculum related to Holocaust education. This board approved Holocaust Education Month and Remembrance Day a couple of years ago. We are collaborating with neighboring town DEI committees as well, among many other activities. All of this is context for what Joanne will be talking about now, which is how we develop the vision and mission statement and why.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us here tonight, and thank you for your leadership to you and Anjali. So we wanted to talk about how we came to this work and then the process that we used to get here. And we're hoping for your endorsement, as Joe said, of our vision and our mission. So first we laid out the work ahead. So we had the charge, and that's been a great blueprint for the committee to have done its work for the past 4 years. I've been in town for 30 years and have been following with great interest the work of this committee, which has been, I think, pretty extraordinary for the size group it is. And so Joe and Anjali really wanted to have a vision that layered on top of the charter. So it really sits in the middle of that. There's a vision, there's a mission. And the vision, as many of you know, having done probably vision and mission work and strategy work yourselves, is it details where an organization wants to go. What's the vision for the future? What's possible for us as a town? And the mission defines what our business is, the organizations, or in this case, the committee's business, its objectives, and how it will reach those objectives. So in some ways similar to a charter, but more refined. So what we did was, after wanting to do this for quite a while, we felt like we had a stable condition and we had critical mass. And Joe asked for volunteers. We had 8 volunteers step forward out of the 20 that we have, including the alternates. And we met 3 times in the summer. And the first 2 times we worked as a small group to create the vision and mission, and we shared stories. A couple of us have been in town for 50 years. What was it like 50 years ago, 20 years ago, raising our kids and our grandkids here, et cetera. We brainstormed, and we looked at other towns and looked at other websites, and we were inspired by their work and their mission and their vision statements. And we reached consensus. We brought back the first draft of the vision and mission to the full committee on July 31st. The vision was approved by a vote of 10 to 2. We had 12 people there that day. And then there were some comments, some questions about the mission and how we might refine it. We reconvened again as a small group and refined it, given the input of our committee, brought it back on 8/28 for approval, and that got a vote of 10 to 1. So what you see, and I believe you have in front of you, are the approved statements. How we will use this is we're going to use it to continue to raise awareness and celebrate diversity. We will add it onto the website so that that's there as a touchstone for people who want to understand more about our work and what's important to us. And it will continue to be a touchstone for our work as a committee. Committees can often get bogged down in day-to-day or in programs or in little small items, but we felt it was really important to elevate what we're doing, what we're about, and the vision we believe will help us do that. So let me pause here and see if there are any questions or ideas on how we could more fully utilize this work that we did.
Thank you, Joanne. First, just I know there are people who are, contemplating, joining us here in Westford who are seeing and appreciating the really thoughtful work that you're doing in this regard. So, thank you for that. Any questions for the group, from the group, I should say, from us about vision statement, mission statement, how it might be used? Any comments and content?
Joe, in your email, you talked about that your scope of your work has expanded ever since the initial charge. Now, the charge is pretty narrow when you really look at it, in the sense of making recommendations to the select board and the town departments to in effect support DEI and make changes to processes and policies and whatnot. And I don't have a problem with the vision statement or the mission statement, but how do they fit into that part about making recommendations to the select board? When you say you expanded it, it seems like that's gone a little bit beyond the original charge. And first of all, do you agree with that? And just want to have your comments on how this fits in. I mean, I have no problem with it in the sense that, it sounds good. This is, but I just want to know where it fits in.
John, let me see if I understand your question. Where the vision and missions fit into or fit within the charge?
Yes.
I think actually they grow from the charge, to be honest. And we don't see the charge as restrictively narrow. Certainly our role, and we're proud to have it, is to provide advice to this board and to the school committee. But when you look at some of the language of the charge, for example, the committee will identify needs around fostering acceptance and valuing diversity, discourage prejudice and discrimination against any person, group, or any other status protected by law on account of race, creed, income, color, religion, national origin, and socio-gender, sexual orientation, veteran status, age, and disability. That, I think, has given us inspiration to bring to this committee a variety of activities that you may not have envisioned early on. And part of the reason we developed a vision and a mission statement is that we've learned a lot over the past 4 years. And that process of interacting with you all has given us the opportunity, I think, to think about where we see Westford. What is our vision for Westford when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging? So different than it being too narrow, I think it actually is a springboard, a jumping off point.
Well, do you think we should, just for you to...
Sure.
Do you think we should change the charge then? Because, I mean, to me, it's somewhat limited. And some of the things that you've done are outside of that, making recommendations. Because I haven't heard, one of the things you talked about, some of the recommendations, some of the things you're doing. But I'd be very interested, at least me, to have you bring some of those details to the select board. I mean, some of the things that you have done, we're familiar with Indigenous Peoples Day and some of the things you've done and the thing with acting. To me, that goes beyond making recommendations to the select board to take action in the town to make sure that we are a diverse community and we support the ideals of the DEI committee. So I'm just looking to get it in kind of order to where the charge reflects what you're doing, and that, because you're speaking for the town as a DEI committee, And our understanding of, maybe in more detail of what the actual things you're accomplishing that we don't know about might be helpful. I mean, you talk about general things, but I'm a little bit short on the details. And we haven't had the regular report in that kind of detail as to what we've been doing with processes, what we've been doing with policies, how we've brought this vision forward. The vision's fine. I mean, the vision is consistent with, I think, what the town wants. But I'm just kind of
it sounds like this
about
maybe,
where it fits.
Yeah, this it sounds like this goes a little bit beyond the agenda item, but maybe the question is sort of a more general update, which we would certainly welcome.
I guess I want to respond to that. I don't see the charge as narrow as you do. Yes, one of the things that the charge was supposed to do was to bring recommendations to the select board, which I think you have done over the past 4 years. But that wasn't the only part of the charge, and certainly having been part of the board who wrote that charge, our intent there was, because we really, at the time we formulated this committee and developed this charge, it was something new to us, and we didn't really, sort of know exactly how it was going to evolve. So we actually were trying to make it broad enough so that we could indeed, investigate, encourage, recognize, and see how we could make the town more diverse, more welcoming, and fostering diversity. I think actually the mission statement and the vision statement now grow out of the charge. Okay, this is what the charge was. Okay, we've looked at it. Now we have a vision how we want to go to fulfill that charge, and we have our sort of business plan, as you refer to it, Joanne, of how we want to achieve our vision, which will implement the charge that we first got 4 years ago from the select board. So I personally see it all flowing together and coming together, one out of the other. And so, I think, as you both have stated, and I've been a part of, this has been an evolutionary process over the last 4 years, where, the committee has, grown and figured out basically, what it wants to do, where it wants to go, and how it wants to implement those things. So I'm, very comfortable with where we are, and sort of excited that, the committee continues to grow and to move forward and to bring new ideas and recommendations to this board, and I look forward to it continuing. So that's where I'm coming from.
I just want to recognize Anjali. Welcome, Anjali. I'm so glad you could join us. One of the two chairs of our DEI committee. So thanks for being here.
Could I? Does she have a question?
We're not able to hear you, Anjali.
Anjali, you're muted.
You might be muted, Anjali. I'm afraid we can't hear you still. Chris, I think you had a comment, and maybe
I just want to have a follow-up, or maybe looking for clarification on John's comments, because, so I'm looking at the charge, and I think what you're saying is you have no problem with the existing charge, you have no problem with the vision statement or the mission statement, but perhaps what you're recommending is that the charge needs to be tweaked a little bit to align a little bit more with some of the things that this group has been doing. Right? Because if you read this, it comes across to me, it's provide advice and recommendations, not necessarily participate in other activities like flag raisings or things that Acton or some of the other really cool things that your committee has done. I'm not saying they're bad, I'm just saying, I think, is that what you were driving at? Is that you maybe want to just amend it a little bit to give them more latitude?
I was driving at, there's certain things that I think would follow on within the community, but going outside our community and representing the town with other communities, something like that should be included in the charge, saying these are things that we encourage or.
Okay. I think I'll take that as a friendly recommendation, John. That maybe we'll ask the committee to reflect if there's any broadening that you feel like you need. We could entertain. In the future some amendment to this. for the topic that we have tonight.
Mr. Chairman, are you
Yep.
saying that we would bring back a recommendation related to adjusting the charge?
I think it's a friendly recommendation to consider it. I don't think we're asking for a specific agenda item. It doesn't sound like you feel it's restrictive. I think we welcome everything you're doing. If more expansive language helps capture it better, maybe that's a friendly amendment we could make. But I don't want to workshop that tonight because we've got a specific agenda item in front of us. I'm sorry, did you have a comment?
No, I was going to move to approve the vision statement.
Any other comments on the mission
Mission
statement? Any other comments on the mission statement, vision statement? Anjali, I'm sorry we're not hearing you. If you want to type anything in the comment, we might see it that way.
There is one.
This one comment.
Okay,
comment.
please.
Heather Fitzpatrick, and I don't know if this is appropriate or not for you to answer this evening because it doesn't have to do with the mission or the values. In light of this, Heather Fitzpatrick writes, in light of the celebration scheduled for October 14th, I'm curious if anything is being done to lessen the divide which resulted from the Columbus Day Indigenous Peoples Day votes.
I think it's a great question.
If I don't know if you have anything that you have any comment prepared for that or not, Joe. We didn't.
We are. We're absolutely open to having that conversation.
Okay, so thanks, Heather, for raising the point.
I just had one more thing.
Yep, go ahead, John.
Would you be more open to providing the board with more details, or the town, the activities within the town, some of the things that you're doing?
Absolutely. If I could make a comment, Mr. Chairman, a little further. We see that the charge, the vision, the mission statement are all of a piece, building on each other. And like Andrea said, I believe when you've got a group of people as committed as this group, activities are going to evolve, perceptions are going to evolve in terms of what the common good is from the perspective of DEI. So I think that's how we've grown as a committee, completely committed to the charge and to being sort of partner with you all and with the school committee. Now, we saw tonight as well, and the reason we opened the way we did was an opportunity to update. We're so pleased to be able to have a liaison from both the school committee and this board, which is an opportunity for information. And we're happy to build on the kind of information that we've conveyed and provided. We've been before this board a couple, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 times in the past 4 years. But we're happy to convey information about our activities, certainly. The other thing, certainly, is to check out our section of the Westford webpage. Lots of information there, including the podcasts, which are sort of a chronicle of some of the activities we've done.
Okay.
That's great, and we're lucky to have liaisons, so that's another channel via which updates can come from the good work of the DEI committee. If there's no other comments related to the mission or the vision statement, I'll entertain a motion.
I will move that we approve the mission and the vision statement.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work, and thank you for
very
being here tonight. Sure. Sure. So Kristen's proposing that we do the 2 contracts so that Kyle, who's joined us, can move on with his evening. So why don't we go ahead and do those? Kristen.
Great. Thank you for taking this out of order. The first contract is for FM Generator for a 1-year contract extension in the amount of $9,950 as requested by the Facilities Department. And then the second is for Scott's Tree and Landscape for a 1-year contract extension for the sidewalk snow removal in the amount of $36,500 as requested by the Public Works Department.
And that's basically the same snow removal
As
map
last year.
as last year.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions on those?
I move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kyle. Have a good evening. We are now on our 7:55 item, which is the joint meeting with the Health Insurance Trust, School Committee, and Finance Committee for an update on health insurance options. There'll be a little bit of a moment here while we welcome people who are joining remotely, so bear with us.
Just going to make sure we're promoting those.
And Kristen, are we proposing that all of these committees go into session with us tonight if they're a quorum?
They
or-
can if they wish, if they're a quorum. We've posted it as a joint meeting just out of abundance of caution.
Okay, well, since it's been posted that way, why don't we see if we have a quorum for the various groups?
Let me see, we have a list.
Christina, do you think you'll have a quorum tonight?
I'm waiting for one more. I might.
So I just will note who's in the room. So John Fryer from the Finance Committee, Valerie Young from the School Committee, Christine Collins from the Health Insurance Trust, Dan O'Donnell from the Health Insurance Trust are in the room as well. I'm on the Health Insurance Trust and John is as well.
We have a quorum then.
We have a quorum, yes.
Okay.
So whoever's acting as chair of that want to call?
Yeah, I'm really counting 4 Finance Committee members, unless I'm missing somebody. So we don't have a quorum.
Okay. Thanks, Christina. You and obviously everyone's very welcome to join in whatever conversation happens.
I think, wait, I think you've got 5, Christina.
Yeah, I just saw Hari pop up. Okay.
Okay, great. If you want to call your committee into session, and then Valerie, if you'd like to do the same, and then whoever's acting as chair of the Health Insurance Trust.
That would be.
Yeah, I'll just call this meeting of the Finance Committee to order September 10th, 2024.
I'll call to order this meeting of the School Committee for September 10th, 2024.
I'll call the meeting together for the Health Insurance Trust for September 10th, 2024.
Okay, and we're going to start, Kristen, with a presentation?
Yes, thank you. So Mike's going to pull up a PowerPoint presentation. I apologize to the public and the select board members. This information became available last evening as the Health Insurance Trust held a meeting yesterday, so we wanted you to have the most current information. As you are aware, one of the budget task force recommendations was to review health insurance. Again, the select board charged this health insurance trust with reviewing health insurance options, and we have done so over the course of the past few months. So first I want to go through, Mike, if you want to move to the next slide. Just a summary of the existing conditions that we're seeing today based upon the health insurance program that we are on, the challenges that we saw in the fiscal 25 budget, the options that we explored, current trends that we're seeing in our health insurance, recommendation for a November 1st renewal. The town of Westford is unique in many organizations is a July 1st renewal or a March renewal. The town of Westford has traditionally been a November 1st renewal, and then additional exploration that the Health Insurance Trust is committed to, and we certainly welcome any input from the Select Board, Finance Committee, or School Committee on that additional exploration. So Mike, next slide. So Westford has gone back and forth between being in programs that are fully insured or a partially self-insured. And currently, as of March 2022, the town of Westford is in a partially self-funded insurance plan, which means that we have a health insurance trust. That trust collects premiums from town contribution as well as employee contribution. You'll see up there the town contribution is 65%, the employee contribution is 35%. And then we purchase what's called a stop-loss policy for any claims that go above $125,000, which are large claims. Currently, the town of Westford has 58% of our employees eligible for health insurance. This includes both town functions as well as school functions. Again, it's a fairly new program, just incepted in March 1st of 2022. On September 11th of 2023, the trust reviewed rates. The trust has the legislative authority to set rates for the health insurance premiums, and our broker had recommended a 22% increase as of that time. The trust voted a 15% increase effective November 1st of 2023. At that point in time, our plan was in a deficit. This is primarily, we believe, related to the effects of COVID-19, where people put off treatment for their health care, went in to see their health providers when they felt safe to do so, and perhaps their condition had worsened or progressed, that it was a more expensive type of procedure over time. And at that point in time, in the October special town meeting, we used $950,000 of free cash to supplement that trust instead of asking for the employees for that rate increase additionally. Next slide, please. So as of June 30th, 2024, our trust balance is at $1,112,000 and change. This is accounting for our incurred but not reported claims, so those may come in the future. This is actually $1.49 million higher than the negative balance that we had the previous fiscal year. We are tracking our claims on a monthly basis with our broker hub, and we have seen that our experience has trended in the right direction towards a better loss ratio. Again, our stop loss contract for health insurance is for those claims exceeding $125,000. It's unique that our stop loss is on a March renewal, where our health insurance is on a November renewal. That was not matched up when the trust was incepted in March of 2022. So we are oftentimes looking at two different budgets related to our stop loss budget and our health insurance budget. But the stop loss had increased from $173,000 per month to $233,000 per month starting in March of 2024. The town is currently contributing a little over $1 million per month into the trust as of July of 2024 at this point in time. And when the trust was established, there was a goal to fund 3 to 6 months of reserves between $3.7 million and $7.4 million. The cash balance currently, as of August 31st, 2024, is a little over $2 million. So we're certainly in a better position than we were at this time last year, but we are not at that $3.7 million function. So the health insurance trust, again, was tasked to look at other considerations for both a November 1st renewal and other renewals into the future. Based upon the knowledge that we are facing deficits, we definitely saw a deficit in our fiscal 25 budget, and we are seeing a $3.6 million deficit in our fiscal 26 budget. The conditions that we suggested were to review staying partially self-insured under our current plan design, continue staying partially self-insured with a group insurance commission or GIC lookalike plan or another plan design change, or move to a fully insured program such as Blue Cross Blue Shield, Mass General Brigham, MIA, which is the Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Agency, or the GIC. And I also just want to note our broker did go out to bid for other fully insured programs, and 4 organizations declined to bid based upon our previous history with claims. So I want to go into a little bit more detail about what each of those scenarios mean. The partially self-insured plan is one that I described earlier with no plan design changes. Our broker recommends a 10.3% increase. So I just want to remind all the boards and committees here this evening that last year they were recommending a 22% increase. So with them recommending a 10.3% increase, that shows that our experience is a lot better than it was last year. The trust met yesterday and have reviewed the funding and recommends that you do less than a 10.3% increase. They have not voted that yet because we wanted to see what the select board's recommendations and reactions were this evening. So they have a meeting scheduled on September 12th to do that. Again, this is a November 1st renewal, and it would not have any impact to our retirees on the Blue Cross Blue Shield MedX plan. Another matter that we investigated was to stay partially self-insured, but move to plan design changes that would implement further deductibles or copays for our employees. That may slightly lower the premiums, but it does look like the employee cost would still be increased. There would be a 2.1% increase in the trust over what was recommended, the 10.3 for the plan design changes, the plan design we have today. As I stated before, the employee out-of-pocket cost would likely increase. It would require us notifying and negotiating with the unions if they wish to negotiate that. But again, no impact to our retirees on the Blue Cross Blue Shield MedX plan. Then we also wanted to explore what moving to a fully insured plan would be. We have a projected runout cost of $3.721 million. So that means that of the claims that we currently are aware of and are in the system, we anticipate that if we move a plan to fully insured, we would owe $3.72 million. The health insurance trust would fund a portion of that from our 2.12 cash balance. And we would also need to fund the health insurance stabilization fund and then pay that remaining $1.6 million, which would require appropriation at town meeting and likely come out of free cash, which would limit our capital plan allowances for free cash usage. So the fully insured plans that we have currently investigated are Blue Cross Blue Shield with our current plan design. To go fully insured with them, that would be a 27.1% increase. The trust felt that that is not acceptable at all, so we'd like to dismiss that option for now. Mass General Brigham with current plan designs has quoted us 12.8% increase. We're still working with Mass General Brigham on some other options that we hope to bring forward in the future related to being partially self-insured or having more information from them related to being fully insured. Again, want to just remind people that these increases are just for the plan design. They are not for those one-time run-out costs that I spoke of in the last slide. Fully insured with Maya, they do have Blue Cross Blue Shield plans. They could match our current plan offering or has other plan designs. They wanted to see our July data, which we were not able to get over to them until August 20th. And their underwriters were on vacation, so we are still waiting on those quotes. We hope to receive those in the next 2 weeks. They have a July 1st renewal. They have in the past allowed other renewal dates, but they strongly urge us to stay on their July 1st renewal, which would mean that the town would have to make a decision by mid-February of 2025 to move to them July 2025. For the first year, their newly enrolled towns would be assessed the average increase. We included in your packet the average increases for the past 10 years with Maya. And then moving on, their rates are on a sliding scale based upon the town's experience. So they have a minimum rate increase and a maximum rate increase on a year-to-year basis. Again, we would still be required to pay those one-time run-out costs. Then we explored the Group Insurance Commission, the GIC for short. They do have a variety of plan options, but they do not offer Blue Cross Blue Shield, which I know our employees greatly value. The rates are set by that Group Insurance Commission, so the town of Westford does not have any say on how those rates are set. There are no sliding scales with that. To join the GIC, their timeline is even tighter. They need a decision by December 1st from a municipality or an organization to move on a July 1st timeframe. Again, that would be a one-time payout cost as we discussed in previous slides. And one thing to note here is that we would be required to pay the Medicare supplemental. That would be a year-to-year $344,000 increase. That would be that one-time increase, and then it would be paid year over year. This slide here just summarizes the rate history that the town of Westford has seen, what the GIC has seen, and what Maya has seen. So although we had a great rate increase in fiscal year 25, the town of Westford traditionally over a 10-year period has seen about 5.6% increase year over year. It has been a little bit higher in the past 5 years. There have been plan design changes in fiscal 15 and fiscal 18. The GIC's 10-year increase is slightly lower than that at 5.4%, but they do have multiple plans, and their most popular plan saw a 5.66% increase in the 10-year average. Their 5-year increase was 6.26. Their most popular plan was 7.44. So that is more than we have seen in Westford over the course of that period of time. And again, all participants receive the same rates per plan. And then Maya's rates over a 10-year average, 5.31 for 10 years and 4.5 for 5 years. And again, as we discussed in the previous slide, those rates vary based upon the utilization of the municipality or organization. So the trust did come to the select board this evening with a recommendation, knowing that they do set the rates, but based upon the conversations that we've had in our joint efficiencies meetings and over time, we wanted to have that conversation with you this evening. We feel that based upon the data we have today, that we would recommend to continue with our current plan structure, and have a renewal increase not more than 10.3%. And we were very clear in our meeting yesterday that we want to continue to explore alternatives throughout the plan year to ensure that we're providing the best product for our employees as well as the best value for our taxpayers. Next slide. I did want to bring up some of the additional exploration areas that we have identified as a trust, and would certainly welcome any ideas from the boards and committees here this evening. If we were to stay partially self-insured, we would want to review and potentially negotiate plan design changes mid-year if possible. We could potentially drop a benefit to early retirees. They would be retiring under age of 65. That would be not for any employees currently, but any new employees doing that. To drop the Medicare supplemental spouse percentage paid from 60% to 50%. To look at syncing up our coverage and stop loss with another carrier in March. We feel that we could be more competitive going out to the market if we had our stop loss and our rates set at the same time. And going out for bid for a broker. We've had Hub as our broker for, I believe, a little over 3 years. I think it's good practice to go out for bid about every 3 years for something like this to see that we're getting the services that we are requiring and we need. We're looking forward to receiving those Maya rates and operating under that timeline for that investigation, and to continue to review the GIC timeline and rates. The one thing that is variable is there's so many plans with the GIC, and we are trying to estimate which amount of our employees would take what plan to cost that out, so it's taking a little bit longer than we had expected. So with that, I don't know if any trust members wanted to add anything that I did not have in the presentation. All right, so I'll turn that back over to you, Tom.
So just real quick, because we had a conversation earlier. So given that we want to analyze this and come to some additional recommendations before the first Tripwire event, which is December 1st, what's the roadmap between here and December 1st look like in terms of us consolidating this study information into something we can dig our teeth into? Sure.
So again, I think we want to receive more information from Maya, understand that, have those data points, continue to run the numbers through the GIC with what our estimates are related to our population and who would take which plan, and then really run the data and the numbers of premium costs versus out-of-pocket costs for employees to understand that, knowing that the Select Board, Finance Committee, and School Committee are looking for those efficiencies related to that. We'll also have 1 or 2 months more data of our experience in our partially self-insured plan as well.
Okay, so I think in the second meeting in October, in order to have the November timeline, which gives you the 30 days you'd need to talk to unions if you wanted to make some sort of plan change, that's when we would get sort of the next consolidated sort of, chart of comparison of these fully fleshed out options.
Yes.
Okay, so tonight what we're talking about really is the fact that we don't really have any decision we can make that's available timing-wise except to renew. So that's coming up on us, and that would cover some initial period that we might switch from later.
Correct. We have the opportunity to switch from later. We're not locked in for even until next November. We could get out of it if we needed to or wanted to. Okay. But we could not join Maya until July 1st, could not join GIC till July 1st. So we need to have an option to move forward on November 1st.
And even if you want to restructure the plan offering into the GIC lookalike or something like that, that would require discussion with the unions. You have to have something you can start on November 1st.
Correct.
Okay, so I think just for the board and for the discussion, we've got one thing, which is getting our heads around the decision we need to make for November 1st, and then I guess things we would like to see to feel like we can make a good decision in the second meeting in October, when we'll really be looking at what plan structure, what path, how do we want to do this. So with that, comments or questions from the board? Yep, Chris?
I have a lot of questions. So first question, so what changes can we do without having to go to the unions and renegotiate?
So we cannot make any plan design changes without going to the unions to renegotiate.
What does a plan design change mean
Sure.
in this context?
So currently, we have a plan that requires certain copays or deductibles. If we were to change those to increase the copays or the deductibles, we would have to bargain that with the union. So those are what are called plan design changes.
Okay. And you mentioned in the slide deck that we are not currently funding the trust at the recommended level of either 3 months or 6 months. What's the ramifications of not doing that? And as a follow-up, how would we provide that extra funding that we maybe need to do?
Yep, so as way of example, our broker had recommended a 22% increase last year. We went with a 15% increase. We actually are funding the trust out of that. Dan, we have funded over, I'm going to need Dan's help with the numbers. So we have actually influxed funds from the 15% increase into the trust. And with the 10.3 or lower, as the trust members may vote on Thursday, we still feel that we will be funding the trust in addition to paying our premiums. Can you just...
Right, so like our cash balance compared to last year, we were at the end of August with 2.2 million. We're at 600,000 last year, so we ran very well the past 12 months that where our funding is actually exceeding the cost right now. Even September was a great month. We're still working with our broker to go through that, but we had our prescription rebates and we had some of the stop loss rebates too, please. Thank you. And then, so we actually, they have a pull each month that they do from the bank, and like our standard's about 1.3 million. It was only 944,000 in September. So we keep the rest of that money in our balance. So at the end of September, we're looking at a balance of 2.6 to 2.7 million. So there is some good things happening there right now too.
So are you suggesting that the trust will come up to the recommended 3-month minimum balance just through natural
I can't predict the future, so I don't want to say that will happen, but you know, right now we are getting rebates in and whatnot, and we have passed the most difficult time, which is after our stop loss renews in March. So things are looking better at this moment. We're funded properly, which we weren't last year, so we had to supplement. But our budget's over $12 million right now, and that seems to be keeping us at a level pace, and we are expected to add to the trust at the end of the year, which is a good thing. It's going to bump up the balance.
And just my other question was, what are the ramifications of us not having that funded?
The ramifications of us not having the trust funded.
Yes,
so as
to the
we,
recommended 3-month minimum.
so as we had to do last year, we had to supplement with free cash.
What if we didn't do that?
We are required to under
have to.
state statute,
Okay.
yes.
So, thank you.
Other questions from the board? I guess I have, and then we'll open up to Valerie and School Committee and Christine and FinCom, and I guess we've already had an opportunity for people from the trust to comment, but you're always welcome to comment. So you brought it up well in the beginning, which is that we're facing this really significant shortfall. So something that I hope, which is touched on in the memo, but I'm really interested in when this comes back, is to understand competitiveness of the plan offering that we have. I think we have to offer something that's competitive, but we do see that a whole lot of our peer communities are on the GIC. So at least other communities are considering this alternative plan structure, which would save a little bit of money in premiums, would have the trade-off of having higher out-of-pocket costs. I understand that. But I would love to see that really detailed out, because if the difference in increase is the difference between whatever number we pick down from 10.3 to the 2% or whatever that increase was, let's say you got a 7% spread there on 13 million, that's real money. And when it comes time for us to be planning for next year, I would much rather not have to lay more people off and reduce services if there is a competitive and viable option out there that everyone has to make a trade-off, but that's part of what we're trying to do here in a really difficult situation. So I'm very interested in seeing like the competitiveness versus other options, what the alternative structure would really look like, because that looks like something that at least would give us an option to reduce cost. So that's something I'm looking forward to, because I think we have to consider real trade-offs that not everyone's going to love, because we're in the middle of a real serious budget crunch.
And I just want to point out, in the packet, we did include who's in GIC versus who's self-insured, who is not. All of those towns contribute much, much more to the premiums than the employees
It's a range,
do.
like Sudbury's a little bit more,
We're
Lexington's
the
a lot.
lowest.
Yeah, we're one of the lowest.
We're one of the lowest, so I just, in follow-up to what you were saying, I think the flip side, and what I was going to say is, I think you also have to consider is that, we as a town are only contributing 65%, where many of our towns are contributing 70, 75, 68%, and I think we need to consider that. I also think we need to consider not only the economics, but also the impact upon our employees as well. We made a huge plan change, I don't remember if it was 7, 8, 9 years ago, when we went to Fallon, which I know is no longer in business, and our employees were up in arms about it. I mean, it was, we heard from everybody the lack of coverage, the lack of responsiveness when they called to ask about their coverage and their plans. So I think it's also needs to be factored into this, as well as the impact upon our employees and their satisfaction too, because I also think that rolls into this as well, along with the economics, which I don't want to downplay, but I do think that we have to take that into consideration as well. So I just wanted to add that to your comments.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Completely agree that we should look at all the factors together in some well-organized table so we can think this through. Other comments or questions? Valerie, maybe I'll turn it over to you. Any questions from the school committee folks?
Everybody else is online, so they can raise their hand if they have.
If anyone on the school committee has a question, please feel free. And also, Christina, with your permission, anyone from FinCom? Sounds like we're going to have an opportunity to look at more information relatively soon, so we may have more questions then.
But tonight is sort of our action item, whether or not to accept the recommendation from the Health Insurance Trust? Do we have to?
I think tonight, the
that's
Health
the only
Insurance Trust would like to,
That's
have our
what I
guidance.
thought, is that, given the looming December 1st and
Right, the November 1st renewal.
November
right.
1st renewal, that at least we need to make that recommendation or not, whatever we decide to do.
Right.
And there is one comment online from a member of the public.
Okay.
So this came from James Kokis. Is there an independent voice proposing options for our choices on this, and in the end, voting on our choice, i.e. someone not covered by or making a commission on the selection?
I think the Health Insurance Trust by statute is entrusted with this responsibility. So James, that's a good question. I guess just food for thought for the group. I believe there are paid consultants that do health plan analysis that are fully independent and are not a broker who stands to gain economically. I know we're on a tight timeline, but it would be at least a reasonably good practice to consider bringing someone in who's an expert in the field who doesn't have a horse in the race. So I don't have any specifics to offer up, but that's a good suggestion, I think, maybe along the lines of what James is talking about. So excellent point from Andrea. We do need to move to a recommendation. Just last call for any questions or comments before we do this.
Well, yeah, I guess, so if we adopt this recommendation, I'm not clear on what we can do after that. So are you suggesting that you would ask the Healthcare Trust to come back to us with more information about the GIC option?
Yeah. So,
And Maya.
And Maya. So basically the tripwires are December 1st and January 1st, something like that. And so you got to back up 30 days to negotiate. So they would come forward and say, here are some options. We're recommending that we do go ahead and convert and notify the GIC with the December 1st deadline and go forward and talk with the unions about it. Or we recommend we do go forward and further explore the Maya option. So that would give us time to basically hit the timeline that those programs are on.
Because in those programs, we wouldn't be eligible till July 1st, so we've got to have coverage between now and July 1st, which is what staying on the current plan would allow us.
Right. Basically, we want to tee up the best option for the town that balances all the interests for fiscal 26, which starts July 1st anyway. So yes, we could make a decision to do something different, either in our own plan structure within our own plan, or switch to another plan with a July 1st fiscal 26 impact. But right now, we don't really have an option, and we need some kind of coverage between November 1st and July 1st.
And I do want to make for public consumption, this increase as proposed 10.3% or lower is in our fiscal 25 budget. So we would not be asking for supplemental budget. This fits in our budget at this point in time as was voted upon at town meeting.
Yeah, good point. So in our current budget, we're not looking at something that would push us outside. John?
Well, I think we need to come back with a firm number versus that less than 10.3.
Right. Yeah. Which we're voting on Thursday. Yep.
Yeah, we're going to deal with that, and then I think it's going to be better than that, and I think we can do that and not cause any budget issues with that, and actually still gain. So we kind of balance the gain that we get into the trust with the impact on the employees. And I think continuing, we would have, we wouldn't impact them on, the extra money that they had to put out. It would be a different impact,
So do you need, timeline-wise, Kristen, do you need a vote of endorsement of this path tonight, or is that something that you could get on the 24th and still make the time? I think the consensus seems to be that we're in support of.
I think what I
renewal.
do need is the consensus of the support of the renewal of the path that we're on. I think either at your meeting in September or first meeting in October, we can certainly provide an update of where we are, and then I know the last meeting of October, we're looking for an exact path in case we have to make any moves related to votes to change over. So I don't think I need anything else tonight. That was my long-winded way of saying.
So all you need tonight is a motion to
endorse
the health trust, the health insurance trust recommendation.
Correct. Yes.
So I will make that motion.
Okay.
I have to.
Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Sorry, one quick question. I was curious if you can share what the increase percentage was budgeted at. So if we build this year's budget on 15%, let's say, this is a positive impact on our fiscal 25 budget.
Dan looks so aggrieved.
Yeah.
Dan, come on, that's a good question.
Not that simple of a budget question, because we did trim down the health insurance budget due to the cuts we made this year too. So we cut that down by about $600,000. So typically we try to budget for like an 8% increase year to year. So I think we started with that, but then made adjustments as budget decisions were made last year.
Okay, but maybe as a follow-on to whatever the recommendation is, I'm sure during the budget process, Dan, you'll let us know whether if that frees anything up. Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. John, do you have a question?
Well, just in voting, I'm on the trust.
Uh-huh.
So.
You've already voted yes.
And I already voted to put forward to the committee, so I should probably just abstain, I guess.
No, you have both roles. Yeah.
Okay.
You've got another hand up.
Oh.
Just blending in with the background.
Oh.
There. So in addition to the additional data that we're looking to receive from the other providers, I'm curious about the chart that sort of shows our contributions versus the peers in the basket, and whether the 65% contribution is toward a similar basket of benefits relative to other locations. So are we contributing 65% of the benefit on a bigger or better basket, or a worse basket, or a similar basket to the other components of this peer group that we're looking at?
So I think I understand the question. So if the town is contributing 65%, does the plan have more features or more benefits to the user on average than some of the other plans? I guess the answer is it's complicated.
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends on the plans. Not one town is the same with their plan design unless they're in a collaborative that has the same plans, and sometimes there's other choices within that collaborative. So that's why this is very hard to benchmark and to explore. We're doing our best.
Yeah, so I think maybe that's a question maybe we'll come back to if we get a little bit more benchmark data, Jonathan, but I don't think there's a way for us to give you a good answer on that right now. Okay, any other hands before we move? We have a motion. Before I ask for a second. Okay, so we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And do we need procedurally, do we need any kind of endorsement vote from anybody else tonight?
No, we don't.
Okay. Great, thank you for being here with us, School Committee and Finance Committee. If you went into session, if you'd like to adjourn out, we'll take a minute for that.
Take a motion to adjourn from the school committee.
So moved.
And a second?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a second.
Yeah, Catherine seconded it.
Oh, thanks. Okay, all in favor? Bill?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Thanks, School Committee.
I'll adjourn the
I
health.
have a motion to adjourn the Finance Committee.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thanks. Okay, I heard a second.
Yeah.
I'll do a roll call. John Leffers.
Aye.
Shelby.
Aye.
Hari.
Aye.
And I think John Fryer is in the room.
Yes, yes.
And I'm an aye. I think I got everyone.
Great, thanks,
We're
Christina.
adjourned. Thank you.
So I'll take a motion to adjourn the Health Insurance Trust.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Pam? She's off count. John?
Aye.
Kristen, aye. Christine? Dan, aye. Okay, we're adjourned from the Health Insurance Trust as well.
Okay, great. Board members, if you have things that you would like to see on this health insurance issue, kinds of data, questions that you have, things that you'd like to be clear when we get back together, please send those to Kristen.
Okay.
I've got a little list going already. Okay, we are now up for the 825 item, which is special town meeting. We welcome Madam Moderator to the desk. And we're going to review the proposed warrant articles, set the warrant order, and review draft motions. And back to this, Kristen.
I can, unless Angela, happy to take the lead.
Oh, no, you're good.
Okay, so at your previous meeting where we reviewed the warrant articles, we have not made any changes. I'm happy to read the articles out loud if you'd wish for the members of the public. You'll be closing the warrant at your meeting on September 24th.
Pleasure of the board. Any questions related to this? Yep, Chris?
Question for Madam Moderator. Do town meeting attendees have the option to take an article out of order?
They can make a motion for that, and if it's seconded and voted on, it's the pleasure of the meeting.
And not your pleasure, so you don't have a say whether or not, you have to.
I have the same vote anybody else does.
Okay, I didn't know if you had the ability to overrule town meeting in that regard.
No.
So, because we've had some people who are interested to see one article potentially move up in the order, and
I would just point out, and I think it'll be more clear as we get closer to the meeting, that actually there are several articles on here that I think are going to be ripe for a consent agenda, and that there are only going to be a few that warrant discussion. We may end up spending more time discussing whether or not to move an article than we would if we just went through it and got to where it was supposed to be. Just my feeling on looking at the articles that are on here, and as I said, that'll get more clear as we get closer.
Thank you so much.
But certainly anybody is entitled to make a motion to move the order of the articles.
Thank you.
I just want to note, at our last meeting, we discussed that Article 5, the fiscal year budget adjustments, Article 6, capital appropriations, Article 7, reduced taxes, and Article 8, CPC, we've left open. We still don't see any of those coming into play, so it is highly likely that those 4 articles will be removed from the warrant come September 24th.
So that gets you down to 12.
That's good.
Apologies if we've discussed this in another forum, but a couple of questions related to, I think it's Article 17, is that right?
Article 16 right now, I think. Yep, because we had taken one out.
So this is the one about basically being able to vote without being at town meeting.
Yep.
I guess, will there be any public education about sort of the legislative constraints, sort of backgrounds about what's possible in the universe that we live in? Is that just something that's going to happen at town meeting? How will that
So it's my philosophy, as it's a citizen's petition, that it's the citizen's responsibility to educate the public on that. I'm happy to get feedback from the board and the moderator if they wanted to change that approach in any way.
From my point of view, it's a fairly technical, legal issue, and I think it would be helpful to the public to have some of the information about what is presently legal and not legal out there, without in any way trying to encourage or discourage a vote in either direction.
So maybe a legal brief, basically, that treats the issue, or?
Well, I'm not sure it would be a legal brief. That would be a little more than the voters want.
A short, yeah.
Yeah,
I was thinking short opinion.
I think something like the Commonwealth puts out every now and then, it says, if you get a positive vote, this is the trail it'll follow. Negative vote, this is fail.
Or a facts,
Facts, yeah.
a fact.
Fact sheet.
So maybe
Fact sheet.
It may take a
Exactly.
town charter change, it may take all kinds of.
What would it, a Q&A of the kinds of questions that people might ask.
I just feel like on the face of it, it's such an interesting idea, but there's so many hurdles to actually doing it. I want to make sure people understand that we are taking it's an idea worth taking seriously, but it's one that there's a lot of obstacles to actually
I
being
think
able
the
to do.
petitioner is actually going to be before this board at some point
Okay.
to make a presentation, and I would bet that there'll be a lot of questions after that presentation in the public. That voters will have a lot of questions after that presentation, which is probably going to be the first thing that brings it to a lot of people's attention.
Okay. And even before we see those people, I guess I would like to have kind of a summary opinion from.
Yeah, I think we already have something from council
Okay.
that I can dig up and
I think I've seen it too,
recirculate.
yeah.
Are we thinking for this fact sheet, like a presentation or a physical handout? What would be your pleasure?
Well, I guess I would look at some of the things that the planning board does sometimes for articles that they're putting up, and we post them on the website, on the town meeting page. We usually make them available to people at town meeting. I think that's a good model. It seems to be good for educating people on what the details of issues are.
Great. Other questions related to the warrant? And this, we will close the warrant. You already said this, Kristen, but.
Next meeting, September 24th.
Next meeting, okay.
Right, and you'll also be receiving a presentation on the opt-in stretch energy code to determine if you want to keep that on the warrant or not.
Okay.
At that point in time.
Good, thank you. Yep, Chris?
Question not necessarily related to the warrant, but just town meeting and special town meeting. I was just wondering, how are we doing with the wiring project that needs to happen in order for us to run, 4 rooms?
Yep, absolutely. We had a logistics meeting a week and a half ago. IT and WCAT are well underway with the wiring, as well as the facilities department. We're in process of ordering the buses and getting the police details ready. I think you have the 3 other deputy moderators lined up, renting chairs. It's all well in hand and underway. Lori's doing a great job getting people checking, check-ins and poll pads and things like that.
Thank you for the update.
Of course. We can give a much more robust update as we get a little bit closer as well.
All part of Westford's very impressive effort to become best practice level at running these complicated
Other
meetings.
towns are going to be coming to us.
We are writing the book. Any other questions on
There's a
this topic?
consultant role here for you, Madam Moderator.
Just what you want.
That's what I need.
Another full-time job.
Exactly my thought.
Any other questions or comments on this topic? Okay. No vote needed there, right?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item up, board reports and updates. We already did town manager's report. We already did contracts. Well, I'm not sure we did everything on town manager's report. Is there anything else you want to cover?
No, we did everything. Thank you
Okay.
for.
Okay.
And John, I was actually able to get an answer. The low interest loan, we don't have a rate yet, but we're expecting a 0% rate on that loan.
Bonus.
Wow.
Gotta like those.
Did we do the FM generator?
Yes.
Yes, we
In
did.
Scotts Tree?
We did. We did those. We did. Remember, we did those. We did
I
those.
was here, but
We did those to free up Kyle so we could go home. Remember
I think I
that?
was thinking of my next question.
So I guess you want a motion to waive.
I do.
You want a motion
Unless people
to
just want
waive-
to chit chat some more,
No,
I'll
you want a
entertain.
motion to waive reading of correspondence?
I do. Please.
There you go.
Has anybody denied it? Voted it down?
Not that I
I
know.
I'll
need a
second that.
second.
There
All in
you
favor?
go.
And I will move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.